Hey, this is Fireman Rob. You know, optimal performance isn't something that happens just by accident. I know this for a fact from being a fireman and doing way too many Ironman triathlons in full firefighter gear. But everybody always asks me, what's your secret? I can give you one secret. That's the right stuff hydration. Hydration is important when it comes to being present in the moment, ready to run into the fires and being capable of showing up every single time at your best. The right stuff was created for NASA, by NASA, for their astronauts. Now it's trusted by professional athletes in Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, and most of the top-tier college sports. It's not an accident to prepare yourself to be great. If you're looking for that next edge, go to therightstuff-usa.com and enter the code FiremanRob and you'll get 10% off at your checkout. This is an opportunity I wouldn't pass up. I have and still do use the right stuff. It's serious hydration for serious athletes, from the weekend warriors to those on the front lines. Make this a part of your habits to be the best you daily.
Welcome to Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Being a fireman, father, veteran, husband, world record holder, and Ironman, he brings stories of experience to impact your life while challenging you to live it. What do you want from your life? Why do you want it? Are you willing to go through the challenges to get there? If you have the courage to take that first step, let this podcast be the catalyst to start your fire, while you bring the resilience to make it continue to burn. Our lives are made up of moments called right nows. So let's get started. Forged in the Fires podcast with your host, Fireman Rob, begins now.
Doug Monda, so great to have you on today.
Man, thank you, brother. I'm honored to be on your show, man.
We got the same love, the same love. Stay by your side, it's ride or die. We've got the same.
We need each other. It hasn't stopped yet. So,
I know.
Anyway, cool, man. I'm honored, brother.
I love it, and you know, I think it's one of those things like your history, your career. I mean, you've worked with the D.E.A, you've worked side by side with the F.B.I, ATF, Border Patrol. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and yet when I talked with you like the first time, like you said, you're so humble. Now, how did you get to that point of being able to be that person who, you know, is larger than life when somebody reads your bio, but yet is so relatable? I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, right?
No. When I hear somebody read my bio, the first thing I think of is that I was prostituted amongst the. I was like, man.
I was ready to hear that.
Yeah, I was definitely prostituted, but I was just lucky, man. You know, my older brother always tells me, like, I'm the dude who steps in dog dew and it turns gold on my shoe, and that's his saying, whatever that means. But
I love it.
I've just been lucky. I worked in. So I didn't work for Cocoa Beach. I worked for a lot of people get confused because I live in Cocoa Beach, but
that's right.
I worked for a city called Cocoa, and obviously Cocoa Beach, right? But two different places. Cocoa is like 20,000 people. It's not a very big town, but 17,000 of them 20 are government housing in Section 8.
Seriously?
So, yeah. So you know what time it is. It's the hood. It's the hood, and it's usually in the top 10 per capita for violent crime. And so it was just a high-speed job, 2 to 4 times a week, SWAT stuff. We were pretty high speed, and yeah, man, and I just my career just took me to all those things in my bio, man. You ask how I got humbled, because I got my ass kicked so many times. That's how you get humbled, man. That is how I got humbled. I have taken more beatings than anybody. I'm full of metal and screws, but
I hear you there.
I'm still kicking, man.
And I love it because, you hear all those things and you think of like just a hardened man, like a man's man, but yet it took you a while, right? But you've gotten to that point of being able to actually look at yourself from the mindset category and look at it from like, how do you become Doug, not the guy kicking in the doors? That wasn't easy, was it?
No, that was literally the one most difficult thing. I tell people sometimes, like I can fight anybody. I'm not scared. I've been trained, right? None of that stuff.
Right.
The one dude that I cannot beat is myself. And that was the hardest task. As you know, being an Ironman triathlete, that's one, if not the most difficult thing you've ever put on your plate in your life.
Yeah.
And I thought that for many, many years. And the hardest thing was transitioning from an agent to a dad the time I pulled into the driveway. When I pulled in the driveway, I literally was unable at some point in my career, I lost the ability to transition into the dad, and it impacted my family, my kids, my wife. It impacted us greatly. And that has been the hardest task that I've had to deal with so far.
That's, I mean, and it's not an easy thing to even, I mean, how long did it take you to actually start to verbalize that was a flaw in essence? That's what I mean. That's what I consider in self and mind. But what did you consider itself? What did you consider that piece? And then how long did it take you to actually start to verbalize that?
Well, I'm really, obviously with my brain injury, I'm bad with dates and remembering, but
yeah,
from when I was a cop, for many, many years, or an agent, I retired in 2018, and I still, at times have issues,
right.
Family issues, being I work on it continuously every day, but I'd say probably about, Karen, Karen personally, she's really the one who, and people ask me how, she loved me so hard that's how I was able to do it. I know that sounds kind of weird, but
no, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah. That's how and now all my kids are gone. They're all in the military. So it's super easy to come home and transition into a dad. All I gotta do is pick up the phone once in a while. But
right.
It was difficult. It probably took, and continuous care, 5-10 years easily.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, and you say that was one of the tougher things. Like when you look back on your career, like what was one of those moments where you looked at and you go, holy crap, I'm not going to get out of this? Did you have one of those holy crap moments, or probably a few of them, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Quite a few.
We only have a 30-minute show up there, Doug.
You would think with my background, obviously, from Blackwater all the way across the board, you would think, but I'll tell you, one of the hardest things that I ever dealt with was a 12-year-old girl getting hit by a car on my way home from work on Christmas Eve. Okay. And I stopped on my way home, and out of all the stuff, that thing was I can remember that
That's
moment,
crazy.
Turning my career and turning my attitude and my mentality. Everything changed in that moment. And that's when that was the start of becoming a different guy.
That's crazy. That's great. And it wasn't even while you were at work.
I was it was Christmas Eve. It was like 5:00, and it was, I had just bought a little Honda 50 for my son. And I was so excited to be able to buy my son a dirt bike. He was only like 5 years old. He couldn't even freaking ride the thing. But I wanted him to have it, right? Because I had one when I was a little kid, and I had it in the back seat of my police car. And I'd only been a cop a short amount of time during this era, and I was hauling Bud home. I was still in the city I worked in, and that call came out, and I was on that road, and I wish I would have never seen that little girl's face. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
And I went home, and when I got home, my former wife, wife number one, she I've only been married twice. I'm not like most cops that are 3 to 5. I'm on number two.
Number two.
Yeah, number two. My first wife, she was mad because I was late for Christmas Eve dinner and stuff. And
oh, crazy.
And when I told her what happened, she looked at me, and I'm not dogging her. I get it. She looked at me and she goes, "Thanks for ruining my Christmas too." She didn't mean it in a negative way. She was so upset about it. And from that moment on, I never came home and talked about my job. And that was a problem as well.
It's a huge problem.
Wow, that's problem.
That's
and
crazy.
I did not talk about my job until I met Karen.
That's crazy. Now, what did you, so when you were processing it, you never really processed anything then?
No, never. Probably shortly after that, I went to Hurricane Katrina. I was one of the first teams to go in to Katrina. And so, just like everybody saw on TV, bodies floating in the water and kicking doors in of houses and finding people floating, all that stuff I was exposed to. And when I came home, it was right back to work. And wow. that incident lasted. It was, I think, the catalyst of triggering off post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm a Florida boy. I've been through every hurricane known to man from, since I was born. And so it's not something new to me, but the way that people acted in Louisiana during that event, the way they treated each other, treated us, that lack of humanity is what impacted me in that era to start this.
That's crazy.
I'm still to this day impacted by that. I have not been back to that area since, nor will I ever want to go, or do I care to go. But that was it.
And that's, I think, a lot of people don't understand, is that these things literally live with you, and that it's not that you're not trying to get rid of it, that you're, it's not like a bad pair of shoes where you just throw it in the garbage and you're done with it. It's something that lives in the back, and it's not like you're not trying. It just lives there.
You own it is the term that I use.
Yeah.
It lives there forever. And, I live at conferences and all this bull crap that in the industry of law enforcement, mental health, and wellness. I'm in that circle. And I listen to people go, "Oh, you can fix this and you can do this." And I'm like, listen,
go pound sand.
Yeah, you cannot shoot somebody in the face and never see that face again. You own that. I will never forget that little girl's face, and I don't care what voodoo they use. You own it. You own it. And so what I've had to do is learn to live with all these images and memories.
It's such a hard thing, and I think it's a hard thing for people to understand. That it's like everybody has those challenges and those struggles and the traumas that they've went through in their life, but it's the compounding traumas that in your line of work, fire service, military, that people go through, that it's not, you're not just carrying one bag.
No.
And it's not one that you can just dump on the bed and say, "Okay, I'm done with that. I'm going to just go on another trip." I mean, for you, what was that outlet that you found that works now? Because obviously things change over time, and Karen helped you a lot. But what does that outlet now look like for you?
Well, the optimum outlet for me is obviously triathlon and swimming and biking and running and surfing. I'm a beach kid. I live on the beach, and it's always been my favorite thing to do.
Love it.
I'm one of them little surf rats. But I got run over by a kid on the job. An 11-year-old kid stole a truck and plowed me into a tree, and I broke my back. And that moment rerouted the things that I used as an outlet. Now, I've popped up here and there and done a few, like this summer I did Alcatraz. It wasn't pretty. I walked, the whole run because, I can't run like I used to. But these injuries and things that I encountered are taking a toll on me now. So I've had to learn how to live life differently, like a total 360. I've had to, I've had to do things, I used to live behind a sniper rifle and training, and now I do puzzles. I do puzzles, man. Like
I wouldn't publicize that, Doug. Now you just lost all that credibility.
Yeah, well, it's just the truth, man.
As long as they're not kitty cat puzzles.
My Karen has asked me to do a cat puzzle with her here and there, but I tend to avoid that. But
I love it.
Yeah, that's just I have a pretty significant brain injury,
right.
And so the puzzles and things like that help me keep my mind sharp and things like that, get it going, and I struggle with that.
And what is the, like, when you're doing those puzzles? And I know it's got to be, it's got to be hard for you to say, now I do fucking puzzles.
It's very difficult, and I struggle quite a bit with that. You know what I mean? I when my presentation, I do a segment on retirement.
Yeah.
And I retired at 48 years old, not because even though I'd been a cop, I'd done my time. I would have kept going. I was only 48 and I loved what I was doing. But my body and my mind, I just really couldn't do it anymore. You know me personally. I struggle daily. And so it was time for me to go. And I was happy. Like when, who wouldn't be happy and go like, because my work pay, they pay me to stay home. I got my whole pay and everything, and they go, hey, just go home and lick your wounds for the rest of your life. And I had just, like, right before I retired, I got stabbed 3 times one night at work. And so they were just, it was time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't the average, cop, man. So I was banging it out all day, every day. And so anyway, I'm home. I'm like 2 weeks into it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to smoke cigars, and I'm going to fish, and I'm going to sit on the beach. And I flipped out one day. I was in my bedroom, and I kid you not, man, I'm folding towels. I'm doing laundry. And because I'm I'm so hyper, and, and I'm doing the towels, and all of a sudden I had this radical anxiety attack. And so I called Karen. And she was at work. I called her and she said, well, what are you doing? And I said, I'm folding towels. And she goes, well, what's wrong with that? And I told her, I said, 2 weeks ago, I was an assassin. And now I'm a house bitch. That's what I told her. I go, I'm a house bitch. And she just did what you just did and started laughing because it sounded funny, but I was serious as a freaking
You were serious as could be.
Man.
Yeah.
And I've been serious about it ever since. But she and quite a few other people were like, yeah, you were, but thank you. It's your turn to rest. And it's been difficult to accept that. You know what I mean? Now, it's been difficult, but it also is very nice that I wake up on Monday morning and I go, oh yeah, I don't have to go to work this week. So
that's a huge thing. But that kind of transitions perfectly to what you guys are doing now with Survive First and Trauma Behind the Badge. I mean, you're taking your story, your message, your hurt, your transition, all that stuff. You're putting that into helping others. I mean, I love the tagline. Together we make a difference. Together we save lives. What was that? What was that first step to creating that Survive First Foundation? Because that couldn't be easy to be able to be vulnerable like that.
No, it wasn't. And I just was asked that question. I was at Chicago PD, and I told him, I said, the day I accepted it, when I came back to work, which after, putting a gun to your head and pulling the trigger, to go back to the work, after my hospital stay and treatment, I went back to work, and I was welcomed back with open arms. I'm lucky. I had a police chief that supported me 100%. And I sat down. I came that morning, and being a drug agent, I didn't have to do anything I didn't want to. I sat in the ivory tower. I just, it's not hard buying drugs and being undercover, and selling drugs. It's pretty easy. So I go into roll call just to say hi to my guys and my SWAT guys that work for me and all that stuff. And I sat down at the table, and one of my SWAT guys, he was sitting next to me. I say table, like roll call, right?
Right.
And he leans over and he goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "can I talk to you?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." And I figured he wanted to ask, "Hey, what did they put you in a straitjacket?" The dumb questions. And
right.
And I said, "Yeah, sure. What's up, man?" And he said, "I'm struggling. I need help."
Huh.
And I looked at him, and I love this dude to this day. I love this guy with all my heart. He's one of my brothers, man.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I went, I am not the only one hurting. And I looked around the room, and I looked at my guys that that have been in shootings, that I've been into it with, all that type of stuff. And I realized I wasn't the only one hurting.
Huh.
And at that moment, I decided I was going to do something about it. I was going to make sure that my guys got taken care of. And what the process was is I knew that cops by this point were not going to get help because they, one, didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, like I did. What's the term they use, Rob? Like a stigma,
Yeah, the stigma,
and, right? And then they won't pay for it. Well, first of all, cops are cheap anyway. They want everything for free.
So are firefighters. Let's not get...
Yeah. God forbid a cop pays for a cup of coffee. Have a freaking heart attack, right? To include myself, I'm punking them out, but I'm punking myself out as well. And I don't think I've ever paid for a cup of coffee in my life until I retired. So
exactly.
And I still hate paying for coffee, man. It's cheap.
I know.
So I knew that. And so what I did is I had a police chief who was an F.B.I. NA guy, national, those guys are kind of been around and been there and done it. Yep. And I knew that he would have the answers. I had this ton of respect for this guy. He is now my vice president. And awesome. I told him what I wanted to do, and him and a couple other guys in that realm, they helped me because I didn't have the background or the knowledge. And they helped me get it going. And they believed in it, and they also saw it with their own eyes. They had had a suicide in their department, and most cops and firefighters have grown up in the industry with a suicide in their department. It's that common, unfortunately. Yep. And that's how Survive First got started, and where we are today is amazing.
It's awesome, and I love that you have request assistance button right on the top. You go to survivefirst.us. If it's something that you need, somebody who needs it, make sure you do that. Survivefirst.us. It's so valuable to have somebody like yourself to be able to give those stories. What do you see the power of you and your wife Karen? What does that power deliver to other people? Because you have both sides of the message, and both of you are very good at telling that story. How powerful is that when you both are able to talk about that and you see those light bulbs go on with other people?
That's pretty powerful, man. I tell people it's real easy to take somebody's life. It's super easy. You can train anybody to do it. But to save a life and to save a family and to save a marriage is the most rewarding thing that I've experienced. And to see them smile, and it's the most powerful thing that I've experienced through doing this. And I think where I resonate the most with people is most cops look at my resume, and cops and firefighters, you if you're not a cop or a firefighter, we don't care what you say. We don't
exactly.
We don't care what you say. You've got to earn our respect, and it's just the way we are. And so most cops and guys see my resume and they go, well, whole crap, man, if it can happen to this dude, then it can happen to me. And I think that's worked the best for me. It's just being one of the guys and been there and done that. And so when people talk to me and they tell me something, I'm like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for Karen as a wife, because Survive First, I don't know if you know this, but we help family members also. Our resources are for families as well. It is. We help a lot of family members just as much as we do first responders. And Karen is living proof of living with a guy who wanted to kill himself for years, every day of the week. And I ruined my relationships and, all the horrible things I did within the house, to include, treating my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, but, I treated her bad, man. I was running around town like every other man whore cop. And, and I was not a happy person. I was very disgruntled and miserable, and, I had a death wish, as some people might call it. And I trashed everything. And she just never, what she tells wives is she never looked at what I was doing. She looked at why I was doing it. And that is, because most wives, and my wife's Latin too, as you know, like, you don't piss off a Latin woman, you're going to get stabbed or shot or something, man. And, right. But she didn't do that, man. She, to this very moment, man, she just lived to make sure that I got help. And she looked at all the reasons why I was acting that way and doing the things I was doing. And she researched and she studied and, to understand who she was living with and why I was doing those things. And she did. She just continued to pour that heart and soul into me. And that's what saved our marriage. And that's the message we bring out there today.
I love it. Doug, you and Karen are both amazing people. Honored to, call you a friend. And, I appreciate you coming on today. SurviveFirst.us is where you got to go. Hearing Doug's story and Karen's, it's one of those things that really will give you perspective on the struggles that people are going through in the first responder community, as well as the successes that, like you, Doug, that are still out there. I always end the podcast the same way. 3 questions. Are you ready, Doug?
Sure.
Oh, I like that. You were ready. All right. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self and tell yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
I would tell myself to make sure I never forget that my family is going to be the most important thing to me in my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. So the second question is, if you could give people 2 habits that they can incorporate into their daily life to continue to move forward, because everybody's going through challenges, struggles, traumas, what would those 2 things be?
Well, I would tell you first, the first thing that I would do is every day take time for yourself. And what that looks like is yourself, not social media, not your phone, not things like that. your mental health and your physical well-being, because the happier you are and the healthier you are and the clearer that you're thinking, the better life's going to be, and it's going to be easier to maintain. And that's going to help you navigate through the bad times when you can think with a more precision mind. That would be the one most thing, the most important thing I would think you need to do. Yes, for sure.
Oh, I love that. All right, this last one's going to be fun because I have no idea who you're going to pick. If you could have coffee at a firehouse table, in other words, any question is not off the table, they have to answer it, who would those three people be? And they can be deceased or alive. Who would those three people be, and why?
At a firehouse table?
Yeah. So in other words, no question is off the table. You can ask them anything.
Oh, okay. Oh man, that would be difficult, man. I'm a big fan of Jackie Robinson.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And only because, being a former athlete, pro athlete, I look at my hard times in life, but I look back at Jackie Robinson, at what he went through.
Yeah.
And I just have a bunch of respect for him. He's one of my heroes for what he did and what he went through. I would say, man, I'll tell you, this might sound crazy, especially coming from a guy like me, but I use this term on my show. I look forward to sitting at the table, at King Arthur's table one day.
Oh, that'd be...
And, King Arthur, if you know the history of King Arthur, his table was, big and always room for more. And he had this philosophy that I admired. And that would be number two. And the grand finale would be Jesus Christ.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I would like, I hope that I get to go there. I hope and pray on a daily basis. Karen always tells me she'll throw me a rope. But,
can climb up.
Yeah, she's like, I've earned a free pass, so I'll throw you a rope. But I always tell her, at least Raul will be with me, man.
Yeah.
So
you'll have a few of us down there.
Right. I'll have plenty of friends down there with me on the bus. Chris Scallon will be on the bus with me.
Oh, yeah. He'll be first.
Rob,
I'll be there.
Seat with Chris,
I'll be driving.
It'll be a whole bus full of cops and firefighters. But,
I love it. I love it. Hey, Doug, it's been so good to have you on. I appreciate all our conversations. Make sure you go to survivefirst.us. And thanks for taking the time today, Doug.
Anytime, man. I'm honored, man. It's always good to talk to you.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast, and please share this episode with a friend or family. To find out more about Fireman Rob or reach out about a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.